and I just became a champion with all that pain and anger. My mom, she was around, but she wasn't around much. I love my mom; she's a great woman, but she wasn't around. I felt left out. I felt left behind so much. I just felt so much pain and anger within me. Struggling in school because I didn't learn. I wasn't learning the right way. I couldn't understand the school ways. I was just struggling when it came to school. I was struggling in life. I didn't know what direction I was going, so I was just fed up. And I think that what made me a great fighter. I took all that pain from a kid all the way up through high school, and I just took all that pain. And then when it was time when I learned boxing, it helped me channel that discipline. It helped me channel that anger, that pain, and it taught me how to be disciplined, be dedicated. The dedication I needed. I needed something to put me on a path, a structure. And boxing did that. And I didn't know I could take a punch in the mouth till I was 20. I didn't know. I didn't know. And then when I realized that, I got this in me, I became a champion. I'd say, you know what? I'm about to become a world champion or die trying. And I did just that. I was forced into retirement. I was about to fight for world title. I was forced into retirement due to the detached retina because I was willing to die trying because I've been a fighter my whole life. Even though I didn't like fighting, I just had to fight. Either you born with it or either you fed up. You just can't wake up and just everybody or a baby is born, they have a gracious heart. Everybody's born with a gracious heart. Everybody born with love. But something in life have to turn you into a monster. And life turned me into a monster, but thank God I didn't go the opposite way because I could have been in the streets. And the more I think about it now, thank God I didn't find boxing when I was in Pleasant Grove because once people knew I was boxing, I could have been somebody was like, all right, T-Mac boxing now. We got, I would have been in more fights or I would have been a target. Or they were like, yo, hire for security. Like, say, there's a couple of my boxing friends that got murdered, start being security for different gangs and stuff like that. Shot in the head. You know what I'm saying? So God has a plan for everything. He was a reason for me to find boxing at 20 years old. So I could do what I'm doing now.
Tell me a little bit about that process of taking the pain into the fuel, and if you have a story or something where it can become real for people. Because I had somewhat similar experiences of taking pain of things that were happening in my life and turning that into that drive.
Mhm.
But it's kind of hard to, you almost have to live through it to understand what that means. And I think it comes down to decisions. Is there any moment in your story of your life where you could have made this decision or this decision, and then you took the one that eventually helped you?
Man, my life has been that every aching moment has been a choice I had to make. I could have went this way. I could have went that way. Say, for instance, I'm gonna try to make this story short as possible. So, say, for instance, growing up in Dallas, Pleasant Grove, DISD. I'll keep going back to the school because they put me in special education. They told me I could learn. I failed first grade 3 times. I had to move to Chicago, get put back in fifth grade, the right grade. Then when I moved back to Dallas, I failed seventh grade, and I had to move back to Chicago because I failed. And I went back to eighth grade, and then I moved back to Dallas in ninth grade. I ended up failing ninth grade again. And so and then when I moved to ninth grade, when I got in high school in Pleasant Grove, I started hanging around the wrong crowd, started skipping school. And so I was mentally so far behind. I had an opportunity to move to Plano. My aunt moved from Chicago to Plano, Texas. And deep down inside, I knew I was either going to end up dead like some of my friends. I was going to go to prison like some of my friends. I just knew, man, that's not who I was. I wasn't that type of guy. And so I begged my aunt, I was like, look, let me move to Plano with you. And Plano changed my life. And like I had a choice. I could have either stayed in Pleasant Grove, ran the streets, lived that life. Nobody forced me to move to Plano, but I begged my aunt if I could move to Plano. And I ended up getting around the right environment. And so I got around kids. I went to West Plano where kids was living in mansions, getting BMWs for their birthday and stuff like that. I was like, man, this is the life I want. I kind of had like a Fresh Prince of Bel Air type of story. And my father still lives in Pleasant Grove to this day. But I was like, man, I don't want that life, man. I don't want to do the bare minimum. And so I decided, I was like, look, I'm gonna choose this life in Plano. And man, like when I got there in Plano, man, Plano ended up, I got around kids that was wanting to learn. I got around kids that didn't skip school. And Plano ended up catching me back up to my right grade. I ended up graduating. Ended up being the first black senior class president at Plano West High School. Ended up being the first black homecoming king at Plano West High School. From going through metal detectors every day, having to worry about fighting every day, to having off-campus lunch for an hour with all the freedom in the world every day at Plano West. Going to my friend's house in mansions. Their parents have platters is laid out for them. It's just getting picked up in BMWs, and it was like, it's like I manifested that because I made a choice. And then once I graduated, I could either move back with my pops in Pleasant Grove. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out a way to live this lifestyle. I'm gonna maintain this lifestyle. And so I grinded it out. I'm not gonna do normal. I'm not gonna seek mediocrity. Become successful or die trying. And so that's choices. Choices. I could have got punched in the mouth when I first started boxing at 20 years old. Nobody forced me to box. I just kept showing back up until I got good. Started business and opened up Team Mack Elite Training. I had no idea what I was doing, but God put the right people in my life to teach me those ways, to teach me what to do, and He aligned the right people to help me get to where I need to be. And I was like, man, and it got tough. It was time when I wasn't making a dime. I just kept showing up. I didn't quit. I had a choice. Should I just go get a job, or should I grind it out? Should I thug it out? should I keep pushing?
Yeah.
I just kept pushing. And look what we're doing now. Look, it's life is fun. I mean, God just putting so many people in my life, so many things in my life, so many opportunities in my life. It's amazing. It's a blessing.